welcome to MBA Mental Boost. This is your coach, Dr. Rosie, and we are back. So I took a break over the summer, and then I thought, actually, this is great. How about I run the podcast in seasons? So we're going to call this season 2. So welcome to season 2, episode 1. It feels so good to be back and sharing stuff with you because so much has happened over the summer. I hope that you had a great one, whatever you were up to. For me, it wasn't really slow. I don't really take time off. I was still coaching. I worked with the WNBA players. So we were, height of the season over the summer. And then it was the school holidays. So the kids were off. And so it was kind of like ramping stuff up with them. It was fun. I think that's like the word that describes the summer for me. Oh, and also I went to Vegas, talking about fun. So I went to Vegas. I went to the Summer League. It was my first time in America. Vegas was like a baptism of fire for the first place to go to in America. It was amazing, and it's going to be an annual thing for me, so I'll definitely be at the Summer League next year. It was so good to meet people out there, so good to meet people that I'd known on social media for years but we'd never met in person. I was coaching out there, I was serving people, I got to work with new clients who've come on board, so I can't wait for the NBA season to kick off again. And obviously the European season, we're in like pre-season over here at the moment. And it just feels like new beginnings. I've always loved this time of year. I think being academic as well, September is always that like rebirth, like fresh start, like I love it. So it feels even more appropriate that we're like kicking it off, season 2, episode 1. So today I wanted to kind of just bring you up to speed with some of the learning that I've been doing, because I've been really diving into flow state research. It's funny because I journal every morning. If you follow me, you'll know this. I have done this for years and years. And over the summer, something that kept coming up. I mean, first of all, I was feeling a bit frazzled, being really honest, trying to juggle, the kids and entertaining them, taking them out, and like serving and still, giving my clients full support. And I was journaling every morning, and I would, sometimes just be like, trying to like, the plates are spinning, like I'm feeling a bit frazzled. And the phrase that kept coming up for me was surrender to the flow. Surrender to the flow. And I would just write that down. And for days on end, I would just like surrender to the flow. Okay, what does that look like for me today? And then the more I wrote it, I was like, the flow, being in the zone, flow state. Oh my God, I need to really dive into this stuff, because this isn't just about me going with the flow. This wasn't just about me, removing flow blockers. And for part of it, I was looking at like abundance and letting abundance flow for me personally. I was like, that's not it in its entirety. You need to go and research flow state. And so I then went down this rabbit warren of researching flow state and being in the zone, which obviously the two in the same, they're just interchangeable terms. And it has just blown my mind. Of course, before I did know about flow state, and we'll talk about getting into the zone. But this time I took like my PhD brain and got obsessed with it and got underneath it and like really took this whole stuff apart. And I am learning so much that I'm going to be sharing more and more with you. So I just wanted to kind of share a little bit of this. I like to keep these episodes short, and I'm going to be bringing out more information. But I wanted to give you like a taste of this so that you can also start understanding, when we talk about getting in the zone, well, what does it mean? Because often when clients will talk about it, they'll talk about it in a kind of, I've been in the zone before. They talk as if it's kind of hit or miss. Sometimes it's happened, and other games it hasn't. And but I don't really know what to do. And when I'm in the zone, it's great and things are flowing. And it's all, one client was talking about, it's almost like I can read the game. He's like, I'm not even thinking. It's like I can read what my teammates are doing. I can read what my opponents are doing, like ahead of time. And he was like, that probably sounds crazy. And I'm like, no, it doesn't sound crazy. This is because you're in flow. But it doesn't have to be this kind of, some games it happens, some games it doesn't. And also I'd argue, let's not just look at it in terms of a game capacity. Let's look at how we can bring our everyday into the flow channel. Like this is, that's where I started with this. And then I was like, this is to do with your work. This isn't just personal. Go look at it on the court. But everything all interlinks. And as you know, I talk about that a lot. So looking at where you can get into the flow state on the court, you know, in a game, in training, but also look at where you can have your everyday flowing that bit more, where you can get these moments of being in flow state. Now, you'll probably hear me, you know, sometimes I'll talk about as if like, you know, things are flowing, like things are moving freely. And I will still keep on talking about it in that way. But when we think of flow state, like it is an actual state in the brain. So to begin with, when it first came out, it was more of like a psychology concept. But now people are realizing, no, there's like real neuroscience in this. So it's a sweet spot where challenge and skill set meet. So it needs to be, whatever we're doing, it needs to be challenging enough that it kind of keeps our interest and it pushes us. But it's also still got to be within that skill set. You know, at the higher end of it, if it's too easy, then we're bored and we switch off. But if it's way too hard, way out of our skill set, we're going to go the other way, where all of a sudden we're thinking, we're overthinking, we're trying to think of that next move. And that takes us out of the flow state. Because from a brain perspective, when we're in a flow state, activity in the prefrontal cortex, which kind of involves like decision making, like thinking, cognitive functions, that's reduced. So that activity is reduced, which means that we're not overthinking, we're not, you know, conscious of the kind of the inner voice or whatever, we're just doing. So this is where, you know, your training then comes into its own, because like you've trained for this and now you're not getting in your own way, you're able to play as you've trained. So when we think of like, if the prefrontal cortex, you know, the activity in there is diminished, then we're not getting in our own thoughts, we're not getting in our own head. Sorry, you know that I don't script these, so I'm not quite sure where that was leading to. But hey, it's nice to be back. You'll get used to me talking like this again. There are thought to be 22 flow triggers, and I find that fascinating. So it's something I'm going to be introducing a lot more, is thinking about what are your individual flow triggers? Because I mean, you're not going to have all 22. We've all got personal ones. So for me, music is a big one. That is a great way. And certain types of music. I can't listen to music with lyrics. That takes me out of the flow state. But when I'm working, I like to have music on. I have this app called Brain FM, and it helps me to just focus and kind of concentrate. And thinking about like what your flow triggers might be, because basically they're like the floodgates for all these neurochemicals that come in that create flow state. So things like dopamine and endorphins, norepinephrine. You don't need to understand about these terms, but there's 5 different neurochemicals that get released when we're in the flow state. So having these flow triggers, these triggers that then, you know, create that flow, that's what's going to help you to get into the zone, into the flow state on demand more regularly, because you start to tap into these things that help you. So flow triggers reduce like that cognitive load. It's reducing like the number of things that we pay attention to. And I think in this day and age, that is huge, because our brain's not designed to multitask. It's designed to unitask, focus on one thing at a time. So these flow triggers just help us to block out the noise and pay attention to the here and now and focusing on one thing at a time. So that's another thing that you can practice. Like, you know, start to kind of think about what your flow triggers might be. And I can give you examples. You know that you can always DM me on Instagram. I'm happy to help. But also thinking about, how can I practice focusing on one thing at a time? Might sound really silly. Even just like watching a film. How many of us do like we watch a film and then we start to go on our phone? And I'm guilty of this. I have to put my phone in a different room because it's just so easy to go and get distracted. So thinking about how you can start training your brain to focus on one thing at a time. And when you start doing that, like your brain's going to reward you, because you're going to get into that flow state. Flow state. You're going to get into the flow state and you're going to get into the zone. And then you're going to see that knock-on effect on the court. Now, we're nearly up to 10 minutes. I like to keep these episodes short. I could probably talk for like a good hour or two on the things that I've been learning around flow state. But I shall love you and leave you here. If you've got any questions, drop me a DM on Instagram. I have also launched my membership. I'm so excited about this. It has been on my mind for about a year now, and I've finally decided that now is the time. So it's called The Zone, not surprising. And it's a place where I want you to come and learn about this stuff. Learn about how you can train your brain for peak performance. Learn about how you can work with your mindset, how you can optimize your habits and your lifestyle design for consistent high performance. Now, I won't go into all the ins and outs of the membership, but there's loads of content you're going to get in there. You're going to get access to me as well. It is going to be an amazing community. Like, I have such a big vision for this, and it's available to everyone. You know, I've put it at a low price point so that it can be available kind of more widely than my like unlimited, you know, one-to-one, which is obviously very high touch service with me. You can still get access to this information. You can self-study. You can still get some accountability and have that kind of community support as well. So if you want to know about the Zone membership, there's the link in the show notes. So go check it out. And I would absolutely love to go and serve you in there and get deeper on this stuff that we're talking about in the podcast. But we are way over time now. So I hope that you're having a great day. And it's so good to be back. I will catch you in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of NBA Mental Boost, the secret weapon to supercharging your performance on the court. If you found today's episode useful, don't forget to subscribe and share. You can connect with me over on any social platform. You can find me at Dr Rosie Mead. Until next time, go out there and dominate using the power of your mind. This is Dr Rosie, signing off.